Hey, my name is Cameron and we're going to give a how-to guide on the LomoGraflok Instant Back for 4x5 large format cameras. This system was released by LomoGraphy about a year and a half ago when I was on the pre-order list, so I've used it pretty frequently. Portraiture, still lifes, landscapes, and have learned the ins and outs of the system, and I'll kind of go over what I like and don't like, but we'll take a step-by-step approach to take a still life picture of this very photogenic baseball right here. And I'll walk you through all the steps on how to set it up, how to frame, how to add the expansion guide between the ground glass, and then how to troubleshoot if your images aren't coming out the way you'd like them to. So let's begin. Step one here will be having all the appropriate materials. So you might want to have a shutter release cable. I'm just going to use my finger here. 4x5 large format camera with a LomoGraflok back, or sorry, a Graflok back, not a LomoGraflok back. That is compatible with this. There's a little lip here, and this lip fits into the back of the camera so things don't slide around. LomoGraphy provides this spacer, which adjusts the focal plane of the film to compensate for where the Instax is in its cartridge versus where the 4x5 film would traditionally be in this ground glass system. So step one here, after getting all that together, will be placing the spacer. So the spacer goes, it's marked here, ground glass side out, so this will face towards me, and it slides right in like this, and everything will sit flush, and you hear that click, it's ready to go. So from this point, you can start to focus and compose your image. For the sake of time, I've already set mine up. So here I use this little magnification viewer, actually 3D printed. I'll link to it in the description. And I use it to view and cancel out all of the external light, and I will splice in a view of what this looks like on my end as well. And I can see the baseball image, and we have a nice green surrounding for the still life. And once we have focus set, we'll take a meter reading. Being that this is large format, you'll have to calculate all the exposures yourself. The Instax wide is a 800 speed film, so here I'm reading at half a second. I'll shoot at f22, and given that we have the bellows, I'll probably look at f22 and then f16 and see what gives the best results. So you can set your adjustments on your lens. I'm going to set it about f16 and a half, and then I'm going to pull this down to half a second. Boom. Cock the shutter. All right, so one thing to make sure is, again, close your shutter. Just like any other large format shot, you want to make sure your shutter's closed before you cock the shutter. And then you can take the spacer out. And this is probably my biggest gripe with the system, is you have to remove the entire ground glass, which I have dropped and then needed to replace my ground glass for my Intrepid. So make sure you have somewhere to put it that it won't get stepped on and it won't drop and fall. The back slides in just like this, so it sits by itself. If you don't engage the clips on the top and bottom, they will actually hold the back in and it'll fall apart if that's not the case. You flip the switch on the side, and you'll have a blue light show up in the back, and I'll splice it in to show you that shot as well. And after that power is turned on, you're able to free the dark slide. Dark slide can come all the way out. And next thing you do is you take your shot. So right now the film is exposed, and I'm going to take this shot at f16 and about 1/3 of a stop over. So we'll go 3, 2, 1. Cool. All right, and then I can put my dark slide right back in. And then we're going to eject the film. And the nice thing about this, compared to some of the Polaroid options, are the Polaroid is prohibitively expensive, and the development times actually for this are quite fast. So we'll be able to see in a matter of seconds whether or not I know how to meter my film. One thing to note, blue light is on the back. It takes, I think, 8 or 6 AA batteries. They'll chew through very, very quickly if you don't turn off the winder between shots. So make sure you push the dark slide all the way in and then turn your film back off, and then it'll go black. So as you can see, it's developing right now. and we're seeing sort of the image come together here. Looks like a decent exposure. It might be a little bit overexposed, but it looks pretty good to me. I adjusted the exposure here because we have such a long bellows extension, and it looks like it's coming through nicely. So this has been an overview of sort of the LomoGraflok process, and I'll give you some final thoughts after this. All right, so my final thoughts on the LomoGraflok. I don't typically use it on a day-to-day basis unless I have to check a more complicated exposure or I'm specifically producing instant work, mainly because that spacer and ground glass removal process is extremely tedious. And again, you can drop the ground glass, you can push the rear standard, which will throw the photo out of focus and give you unnecessary tilt. There's so many things that can go wrong in that process, and it becomes extremely stressful to kind of get everything together and lined up the way they should be. That being said, my solution to that so far, actually I found exploring online, there is a 3D printed conversion option for the Polaroid 110A, which again has a lens that's capable of covering 4x5, and with a rangefinder, you basically align the image and you take it, and there's no focusing needed on the ground glass. The specific 3D printed part, you can see here, I have it screwed in. It took me about 12 hours to print and maybe $10 in plastic, and the whole process took about 2 hours to do. But now I have something where I can literally pick the Polaroid up, take the shot, boom, print it out, and I'm ready to go, rather than having to go through 5, 6, 7 steps on the large format body itself. Whenever you're going through and testing your footage, Instax typically develops quite quickly. If things are developing slowly, you've likely over or underexposed. When you hit the exposure perfectly, it'll almost appear right in front of your eyes. I'll splice in a little time lapse of my shot developing, but you'll kind of see the difference. Here's an example of a slightly underexposed shot. And again, here's the same thing, but with overexposure. There isn't a lot of great reciprocity data because not many people are doing long exposures on Instax wide, but really yields some great colors, and I love using the film whenever I can. So final thoughts, take your LomoGraflok. Instead of using it on a 4x5 camera, try it on a rangefinder. Conversions aren't too bad. I think I picked this up on eBay for 80 bucks, and then the 3D printed materials were 10 bucks. So I pretty much have a functional large format instant camera for under $100 if you're willing to kind of get your elbows dirty. Outside of that, leave a comment below if you've used the LomoGraflok yourself, any issues you may have had, and then if you're looking for feedback or particular comments you'd like to forward to Lomography. I'm sure that they'd like to hear what they can improve on the next iteration of this device, and hopefully it'll incentivize other film manufacturers to keep producing this and making things available for medium, large format and above. All right, thank you.